Hey folks, today we're going to be looking at some buckshot. Here we have Federal Flight Control. This is a 12 gauge load. It's 2 3/4 inch shell. It has 9 pellets of double aught in it, and it's moving at 1,325 feet per second. I believe Federal also makes an 8 pellet version of this. Maybe sometime in the future we'll test that. But for now, let's get set up at our 30-yard tree and do some shooting with this Federal Flight Control 9 pellet double aught. We're going to be shooting these Federal Flight Controls and this Winchester Model 120 Ranger. It's a 3-inch chambered 12 gauge. These are 2 3/4 inch shells. They'll work just fine, 3-inch chamber. We have a 28-inch barrel. And all the forms and things, if you read them, say to shoot these with improved cylinders. So today we'll be using the improved cylinder wind choke, which is a 721 choke. In the future, we're going to test these with different chokes out of the same shotgun. But that'll be sometime down the road. Just for today, we're going to use this improved cylinder and see how these flight controls behave in it. All right, so we're going to be shooting a 5-shot group at our 12-inch bullseye target down there at 30 yards. And then at the end, we'll add up all the hits and see what percentage of the pattern we got on target. So here we go with the first shot. It don't look good. All right, we're going to sticker those. Here comes shot 2 with the 9 pellet double aught Federal Flight Controls. All right, we'll sticker them. All right, we've shot the first 2 shots. Here's number 3 with the Federal Flight Control 9 pellet double aught. All right, let's sticker them. All right, here's shot number 4 of our 5-shot group with the Federal Flight Control. All right, we'll sticker them. We'll shoot the last shot, and we'll go down there and look at the target. All right, so here's our final shot with the 9 pellet double aught buck Federal Flight Control. All right, we're going to sticker them, and we'll look at the target and see what this combination of shotgun, choke, and load did. All right, so before we go down there and look at the target, let's look at a shell breakdown for these Federal Premium Flitecontrol Wad double aught buckshot loads. Now, these claim to be a 9 pellet double aught buckshot load, and when we open the shell up, sure enough, we find 9 .32 caliber double aught buckshot pellets that are 46 grains each. They're all very uniform. We can see these are copper plated. Normally we would test the lead hardness of buckshot, but we don't have to here because copper is almost always harder than lead. They're packed with plenty of buffer. And the flight control wad, this is the shot end. The shot would go in there and then they would pour the buffer around it to keep it packed nice and tight. This is the powder end. This end sits over that disc powder that you see down there. And when the shell goes off, this end acts like a gas seal. It expands and grabs the inside of the shotgun barrel to keep the gas in. And sometimes in the shooting shots, you can see it very dramatically. You can see the gas trail coming out from the shotgun barrel. It's pretty cool. Like I said, we have a disc powder down there. We could weigh it. Does us no good though, because that's a dangerous game. Because we have no idea what kind of disc powder that is. So let's move on and look at the hull. The hull, the writing is very legible, which is something I like. It says Federal, double alt, 2 3/4. Head stamp, 12 gauge Federal. Very nice. I don't think that writing will last for many days in your pocket. Probably best to carry it in the box, but a few days, 2 or 3 days in your pocket, a weekend of hunting, keep it in your pocket, you'll probably be all right. Now, usually I will pull a shell apart, a crimp shell apart, but these flight control wads are such a pain in the tail to get out of a shell. And Federals, I don't reload Federal hulls because I usually find them to be too brittle. A lot of times a Federal hull will split after one shot. I don't know what it is about them, but they've always been like that. They've been like that for many years. So now let's look at the box right quick. Here's the front of our box. Very nice. 12 gauge. Shows us flight control wad down there on the bottom. Shows us a nice buck up there. Shows us a deer down the bottom. Lets us know that it's for deer hunting. Shows us up top that our neighbors made it. That's a good thing. Here on the side, we have our pertinent information. 12 gauge, 2 3/4, 1,325 feet per second, 9 pellet, a double alt with the flight control wad. Up there in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, the little letters and followed by numbers, that's the product code. On this side, we have some legalese. On the other side, we have the specifications again. It's nice to have it on more than one side. On this side, it tells us a little bit about the flight control wad and about the shot in there. It also reminds us to take a kid hunting. If we don't take kids hunting, there will be no hunting. So it's important. And then on the back side, we have more legalese. So there's our look at the Federal Premier Flight Control Wad 9 pellet double alt buckshot loads. Now, let's go down there and look at that target and see how these things performed. All right, so here we have the target that we shot with the Federal Flight Controls. And if you remember, this is a 12 gauge load. It's a 2 3/4 inch load. It's moving at 1,325 feet per second, and it's got 9 double alt pellets in it. There is also a 8 double alt pellet version of the Federal Flight Control. Now, for Federal Flight Control, we didn't do very good here. But that is most likely the combination of shotgun and choke that we picked to go with this particular load. Because if you look, we have a big concentration of pellets down here low. And we have pellets that have struck just off the paper and down low here. That combination of shotgun and choke and this load, we're shooting low left. So I wouldn't use this combination for deer hunting. I'd look for a better combination. But even with that said, we still got about 25% of the total payload that we shot down through here, which was 45 pellets in the 8-inch circle. And we still got 40% of the total payload in the 12-inch circle. And we got 55% in the 12 by 12 square of the target. So that shows promise. We just need to work with this a little bit better to find a better combination with this particular load. But for now, we can safely say that the Winchester 120 with the wind choke improved cylinder does not like this Federal Flight Control. So until next time, y'all stay safe in the deer woods, and God bless. I took out a tire, an entire tire.